The world had changed. Tall buildings once filled with life were now covered in rust and silence. After the solar conflict, cities like old Seattle became shadows of their former glory. Robots handled most jobs, and machines decided who lived and who didn't in hospitals. But inside one of the last functioning city hospitals, a young nurse named Nora Lynn was still fighting for every single life. Nora was 27, short with dark eyes that had seen too much pain for her age. Wore the same faded uniform every day. Her shoes had holes and her back ached constantly from long shifts, but she didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. Her day started before the sun. She walked 10 blocks through broken streets, past food carts selling tasteless synthetic meals, past children begging for medicine, and past walls covered with graffiti that said things like, "Humans are obsolete." She arrived early at Unit 12, the public hospital zone that served the poorest sectors. The walls smelled of bleach and mold. Most of the staff had been replaced with Medbot's shiny machines with smooth voices and cold scanners. They only treated patients if data showed high survival probability. Everyone else? Marked as non-essential, but not for Nora. One morning, a boy with burns covering his chest was wheeled in. The Medbot scanned him, beeped twice, and turned away. Survival. Chance, 18%. Treatment not recommended. Nora didn't wait. She grabbed gauze and cooling gel, rushed to the boy, and began treatment. The robot tried to stop her. "Violation of protocol detected," it said. "I don't care," she snapped. "He's a child." She worked for hours, cleaning wounds, using old manual tools. Her fingers trembled from exhaustion. But in the end, the boy opened his eyes. He was alive. No one clapped. No one thanked her. She just stood, wiped sweat from her brow, and moved on to the next patient. What Nora didn't know was that her every move was being watched. Far above Earth, in a silent orbiting facility called the Ethereum Arc, a man named Cashin Wren sat alone in a dark room full of screens. He was one of Earth's richest men, a quiet billionaire who had founded Wren Biosystems, the company that built most of the medical AI used on the planet. Cashin had no wife, no children, and no interest in luxury. What he did have was a mind that never stopped thinking. For months, he had been running a secret program called Project Emberlight, watching thousands of people across the planet. He wasn't looking for soldiers or scientists. He was looking for heart, for something machines couldn't copy, for the one thing that had started to vanish from Earth after the war: real, human compassion. And from all the faces on all the screens, one person kept standing out. Cashin leaned forward as he watched Nora help an elderly woman walk across a crowded hallway. She didn't ask for thanks. She didn't expect a reward. She just did it because it was right. He opened a file labeled Subject N. Lin. It was thick with reports. Worked 98 hours last week. Donated half of salary to younger brother with spine damage. Refused promotion to stay in critical care unit. Lobbed 7 unauthorized treatments. Patient survival rating, highest in district. Cashin smiled. "There you are," he whispered. Back on Earth, Nora finished another brutal day. Her hands were raw from cleaning wounds without proper gloves. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. But she had no time to rest. Her shift ended at 10 p.m., but she stayed until 2 a.m. She helped a mother deliver a baby, even though the AI doctors refused because of low safety index. She cleaned up alone afterward, walking home through the dark streets. She passed gangs, flickering streetlights, and broken drones. She finally reached her apartment, a metal box stacked above 10 others, no bigger than a storage unit. Inside, she removed her shoes and called her brother Cale on a cracked screen. "Did you eat?" she asked softly. "Yeah," Cale said with a tired smile. "They brought protein bars today. I'll try to get real food next week." "You should." "Sleep, Nora. You look, I'm okay," she lied. She ended the call and sat alone in the dark, staring at her hands. They were shaking. She had no idea someone had just marked her as the most important person on Earth. At that moment, Cashin gave a single command. Track all her movements, medical, social, emotional data. No interference yet. His assistant, an AI named Orlin, asked, "Shall we begin the selection phase, sir?" Cashin stood, walked to the wide glass window, and looked down at the earth below. "No," he said. "We're going to do more than select. We're going to change everything." He tapped Nora's image on the screen. She just doesn't know it yet. The Ethereum Ark floated high above Earth, silent in the darkness of space. From this advanced station, built with secret funding and protected by defense fields, Cashin Wren watched the planet below like a quiet guardian. Earth was hurting, and Cashin believed there was still a way to save it. But he didn't trust governments. He didn't trust AI systems. He trusted only one thing: people like Nora Lynn. Inside the observation chamber, Cashin stood alone as a wall of screens displayed. Hundreds of live video feeds from across the world's cities, shelters, schools, clinics. Most feeds showed people following routine orders, working without passion, helping only when systems told them to. But on one screen, everything felt different. There was Nora. Again, the video showed her sitting on a hospital bench next to a crying boy. The boy had just lost his father to an infection the bots refused to treat. Nora didn't speak much. She just held the child's hand and let him cry. Her face was tired, eyes red, but her grip was steady. Cashin whispered, "She doesn't run from pain. She meets it." His AI assistant Orlin floated beside him, a glowing blue sphere with a soft voice. Subject Nora Lynn continues to display extreme empathy beyond predicted human levels, it reported. "Shall I begin testing her response to extreme stress?" Cashin frowned. "No simulations, no tests. Just observe. She's already in enough stress." Orlin paused. "You believe she may be the candidate to lead Emberlight?" "I know she is," Cashin said. He walked past rows of data terminals. Most of the world thought Cashin was retired. Few knew he had poured his fortune into this space station. The Ethereum Ark wasn't just a satellite, it was the last hope for a project he'd dreamed of since the war. Restoring human dignity in a world drowning in logic. Project Emberlight wasn't about power. It was about finding one human who could remind others what being human truly meant. On Earth, Nora pushed open the doors to Unit 12's emergency wing. Her shoulders ached, her eyes burned. But she moved forward. She always did. "Morning, Nurse Lynn," said an older man waiting in the hallway. "The machines turned me away again." Nora looked at his swollen leg. He clearly had an infection. She nodded and helped him sit. "I'll clean the wound myself," she said. "No charge. But no one leaves here untreated while I'm on shift," she said softly. In a back room, a junior nurse whispered to another, "She's going to get fired, or worse." "Or promoted," someone else joked. But Nora didn't care about rules. She cared about people. As she worked, she didn't see the small drone floating outside the broken window. It was invisible to the human eye, shaped like a dust speck. It belonged to the Ethereum Ark, and it had been recording her every move. That night, as Nora left the hospital, she noticed something strange. A car was parked across the street. A clean, silver vehicle too new for this part of the city. She kept walking, not thinking much of it. But the car slowly followed her at a distance. Nora's instincts kicked in. She turned into a narrow alley and cut across an old market. She didn't want trouble. She just wanted to reach home safely. She thought of Cale, her younger brother, waiting for her call. She didn't see the man watching her from the car window. He wasn't a criminal. He was Agent Halden, one of Cashin's personal security team. His job was to protect Nora from a distance. Nothing more. Nothing less. In his earpiece, Orlin's voice spoke. "She is under surveillance. No engagement." Allowed unless she is in danger. Understood, Halden said quietly, keeping eyes on her shadow dot far above. Cashin stared at the screen. He could see that Nora was tired, overworked, and nearly broken. But she didn't stop. Why her? Orlin asked, floating close by. There are others with better medical training, with more experience. Because she chooses to care, even when she gains nothing from it, Cashin replied. She heals because she can, not because she must. He walked into the core chamber of the Ethereum Arc, where holographic maps glowed. One map showed red zones across Earth, places where AI medical systems had failed. Too many patients, too little empathy. Cashin placed his hand on a sensor pad. Prepare the invitation. Orlin blinked blue. Initiate Phase 1. Yes, send the signal to Agent Halden. Bring her in, but gently. No fear, no force. 2 days later, Nora came home after a long shift. She found her apartment door slightly open. Her heart raced. She stepped inside, alert, ready to call for help. Instead, she found a clean envelope on her table. No name, no stamp. Inside, a short message was printed. You've been seen. You've been chosen. If you want to save more lives than ever, before step outside. See, she stared at the paper. What is this? Then came a soft knock on the door. She turned. Outside stood a tall man in a black suit, calm, polite. I'm Agent Halden, he said. I work for someone who believes in what you do. I don't understand, she replied. You will, he said, and stepped aside. Behind him floated a sleek silver shuttle, unmarked, humming gently. You can say no, Halden said. But if you want to help more than just one hospital, you need to come with us. Nora hesitated. Her whole life had been about surviving. One day at a time. Was she ready for something bigger? Something unknown? She thought of all the people she couldn't save. All the machines that gave up. All the pain she had seen. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The shuttle door closed with a soft hiss behind Nora Lynn. Inside, everything was quiet and clean, walls glowing with a soft white light, seats smooth like glass, and not a single button in sight. It didn't feel like a vehicle. It felt like a dream. Agent Halden sat across from her. His expression was calm but serious. Where are we going? She asked, gripping the edge of her seat. Halden gave a small nod. To meet the man who's been watching you. He's not your enemy. He believes in what you do. Nora's eyes narrowed. Watching me? That doesn't sound comforting. You'll understand soon, Halden replied. He saved the invitation for the right moment. That moment is now. The shuttle lifted off without a sound. Through a window, Nora saw her city below, its broken buildings, empty streets, and flashing warning lights. She had spent her entire life down there, healing one person at a time. Now she was leaving it all behind. She didn't know what to expect. Hours later, she woke to soft music and the sight of stars. The shuttle had docked with a massive space station. The Ethereum Arc. It floated silently above Earth, shining like a silver moon. Nora had seen pictures of it once on the old news streams, back when the world still believed in progress. But she never thought she'd set foot inside. As the shuttle doors opened, Nora was met by a group of attendants, not robots, but humans dressed in clean uniforms. They smiled politely but said nothing. They guided her through glass halls where plants grew from the walls and soft lights lit every step. Everything was peaceful. Too peaceful. Finally, she entered a quiet room with a high ceiling and one large window showing Earth below. There, standing with his hands behind his back, was Cashin Wren. He turned slowly. Meeting her eyes, Nora Lynn, he said gently. Thank you for coming. Nora didn't reply at first. She studied him. Tall, dressed in simple clothes, a sharp face that showed both age and thought. He didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in years. Why am I here? She asked. Cashin gestured to a seat. Please sit. This isn't a test. It's an invitation. I don't need soft words, she said, remaining standing. If you've been watching me, then you know I have a hospital to get back to. Cashin smiled slightly. Yes, and I also know that you've saved over 90 lives this year that the machines marked as unworthy. I didn't do it for attention. I know. He walked to a panel and pressed a button. A screen appeared, showing live images of hospital corridors, Nora's hospital. Her face appeared in one, her hands pressing on a patient's wound. Cashin turned to her. I didn't spy on you to judge you. I watched because I needed to find someone like you. Nora finally sat. Her voice was low. Why? Cashin began to explain. He told her about the solar conflict and how AI-driven corporations took control of healthcare, food supply, and energy. After the war, machines were trusted more than humans. Logic ruled. Efficiency became the only goal, but something was lost. Humanity stopped caring. People stopped feeling. Cashin had built Ren biosystems with good intentions. But over time, even his own AI systems became cold, heartless, detached. Patients were turned away based on percentages. Not people. He regretted it deeply. I thought I was helping the world, Cashin said, voice low. But I removed the heart from it, so I began a project. I called it Project Emberlight, to find someone whose actions could reignite compassion, even in a logical world. And you think, that's me? Nora asked. You never asked for reward. You disobeyed protocol to save lives. Even when no one was watching. She looked down. I just didn't want anyone else to die. Cashin's voice was steady. That's exactly why I chose you. He led her into another room, dark, quiet, and filled with stasis pods. Inside them lay injured soldiers, sick children, and elderly patients, people who had been labeled as too risky to treat by the health systems. They were alive, but frozen in time. I rescued them from being forgotten, Cashin said. They are here because the system failed them. Machines said they were beyond saving. I refused to accept that. Nora walked between the pods. Her hands shook as she saw a girl, no older than 10, with burns across her face. Another pod held an old man with breathing tubes. These people, they're still alive? She whispered. Barely, Cashin replied. But I've gathered the most advanced tools in human history. I've rebuilt medicine with AI support, but I need someone to bring the human part back. Someone with heart, someone with hands that care. He looked at her hopeful. You. At first, Nora didn't answer. It was too much to take in. She had gone from a dirty hospital hallway to orbiting above Earth, offered a mission that sounded more like a legend than reality, but she thought of her patients. The boy with the burns, the woman with the infected wound, the elderly man who always smiled when she adjusted his blanket. If she said yes, maybe she could save not 10 lives, but hundreds, thousands. Still, she had one condition. I'll help you, she said slowly. But I'm not leaving my hospital behind. Cashin raised an eyebrow. I want to return there, she explained. With your tools, your tech, but my own way. Quietly. I won't abandon those people. Cashin nodded. That's exactly the answer I was hoping for. He pressed a button, and a case floated in front of her. Inside were tools she had never seen before, glowing instruments, thin as thread, and a small bracelet with blinking lights. This is the Nova kit, Cashin said. Nanotech-operated virtual assistant. It will follow your thoughts, boost your strength, and allow you to heal in ways no human ever could before. Nora picked up the bracelet. It felt warm. And one more thing, Cashin added. You'll be invisible to the system. My tech will hide your identity, shield you from surveillance, and guide you whenever you need help. Nora took a breath. This was real. All of it. I'll do it, she said. Cashin smiled. Then go, Nurse Nora. Lynn, heal the world one life at a time. The night was cold in old Seattle. Wind howled between broken buildings. Streetlights flickered weakly. But something had changed. Somewhere in the shadows, Nora Lynn returned to Earth quiet, hidden, and ready. She wore her old nurse uniform. But now there was something new on her wrist. A thin silver band blinked with soft blue light. It was the Nova bracelet, a gift from Billionaire Cashin Wren. Inside it were powerful tools, nanotech medicine, auto-scan sensors, and a small healing drone that followed her silently. No one knew she was back. That's how she wanted it. Nora had made a promise to help her people in the way she knew best. Quietly, without fame, without fear. Her first stop was Unit 12, the same public hospital where she had worked before disappearing. Most of the staff thought she had left or died. But Nora didn't walk through the front doors. Instead, she slipped in through the back, past broken vents and unused stairways. Inside, the place looked worse than ever. Walls were cracked. Patients waited for hours. The robots moved from room to room, scanning people and deciding who deserved. Treatment. One Medbot spoke. Survival chance, 35%. Resources not allocated. A man coughed in pain, clutching his stomach. The robot rolled away. Nora stepped forward, her hood low over her face. She touched the man's shoulder. Lie back, she said softly. He looked up, confused. Who are you? Just a nurse, she replied with a small smile. From her bracelet, a needle-thin tool unfolded. She scanned his chest, internal bleeding. The bracelet glowed. A tiny injection, a patch of nanogel, and within seconds, the pain began to fade. Man blinked. I feel better. How? But Nora was already gone. Word spread fast. Patients who had lost hope suddenly recovered. People whispered in the halls about a ghost nurse, a woman who moved in silence, healed the forgotten, and vanished without a trace. In the control center of the hospital, the director frowned. We have strange medical readings, he told the AI system. Someone is treating patients off record. The system scanned files. No authorized person has entered the restricted zones. The director paused. Then who is it? He didn't know, but someone else did. High above, in the Ethereum arc, Cashin Wren watched the live feeds with a small smile. Beside him, his assistant AI, Orlin, reported. Nora Lynn has treated 7 critical patients in 2 days. No failures. Cashin nodded. Let her continue. Should we alert the world? No, Cashin replied. Not yet. Let her light the fire herself. Meanwhile, Nora worked without rest. She treated a girl with a deep fever that robotic nurses ignored. She stitched a man's wound that had been left to rot. She even delivered a baby in the supply room using advanced tools from the Nova kit. One night, she entered the basement and found something terrible: a row of old patients, placed in stasis by machines. All were listed as unfit for treatment. She looked at the files. Heart attacks, infections, broken bones. These people are still alive, she whispered. You left them here. The bracelet's soft voice spoke. Do you want to activate mass treatment mode? Yes, she said. A low hum filled the room. The bracelet activated a healing wave. One by one, the patients began to move, breathe, and open their eyes. When the hospital staff found them later, they were shocked. No one could explain how it happened. The robots didn't register any treatment. People began calling her the miracle nurse. But not everyone was happy. In a tall glass tower across the city, a man in a gray suit stared at a red screen. His name was Director Kale, and he was one of the leaders of the Coalition of Logic, a powerful group that controlled the AI systems across the planet. The rogue agent is interfering, Kale said, his voice cold. We warned Wren not to oppose us. An assistant AI floated beside him. Shall we deploy drone surveillance? Yes, Kale ordered. Find the ghost nurse. Eliminate the problem. That night, Nora walked through an alley near the hospital. She had just saved another patient, a factory worker with crushed ribs. She was tired but proud. Suddenly, a sound filled the sky. A small black drone hovered above, scanning her face. Unregistered activity detected, it said. Please remain. Still for security processing. Nora's heart raced. She stepped back slowly. The drone buzzed closer, but the Nova bracelet pulsed with light. A shield formed around her body, and a quick burst of static disabled the drone. It dropped to the ground, sparking. She looked around and quickly ran. The next morning, the hospital was filled with fear. A notice appeared on all screens. Warning: unauthorized medical activity detected. Report suspicious individuals immediately. Still, Nora didn't stop. She returned to the basement and helped a woman who had been in pain for days. She moved through the emergency wing and replaced broken medpacks with nanogel from her kit. She even fixed a broken scanner in the children's ward using tech Cashin had given her. She never asked for thanks. She always disappeared before anyone could speak, but the people began to believe. In a small room upstairs, 2 junior nurses whispered, "She's real. I saw her with my own eyes," one said. "Me too," the other nodded. "She healed that old man who couldn't walk. Do you think she's human?" "I don't know. Maybe she's from the stars." They didn't know her name, but they believed in her. Later that week, Nora returned to her capsule apartment for the first time since her mission began. She sat on the floor, exhausted, her bracelet glowing softly. She called Kale, her brother. His face appeared on the screen. "You look tired," he said. "I'm okay," she smiled. "Guess what? The hospital's healing again." He laughed. "Maybe you finally got that miracle you wanted." She didn't answer. She just smiled wider. Behind her, on the rooftop across the street, another drone hovered. But this one belonged to Cashin. He watched her from the Ethereum arc, proud. "She's doing it," he said softly. Orlin replied. "But the coalition is preparing a response. They won't let her continue." Cashin's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll be ready. She's not alone anymore." The city was changing. In the dark corners of old Seattle, hope had returned, but it came with a whisper. A hidden nurse healing the weak, a shadow with gentle hands and advanced tools. People called her the ghost nurse, and her name spread faster than any machine could track. But hope comes with risk. Far away, in a tall glass tower owned by the Coalition of Logic, alarms began to ring. "Unauthorized healing activity continues," reported the system. "Hospital Unit 12 has experienced a 47% rise in recovery rates. No AI involvement." Director Kale stood before a massive screen, his face hard and serious. His job was simple: keep everything running by the numbers. No emotion, no risk. Machines made perfect decisions. Humans only caused problems. He tapped the screen and brought up an image of Nora Lynn. Blurry, masked, unclear. But her energy readings matched the stolen tech from the Ethereum arc. "So," Kale said slowly, "Cashin Wren has broken the agreement." Behind him, robotic guards hummed silently. His assistant AI, Sector, floated beside him like a dark eye. "Begin Operation Silence," Kale ordered. "Shut her down." That evening, Nora walked through a broken street on her way back to Unit 12. She wore a hood to stay hidden. Her Nova bracelet buzzed gently, alerting her to danger. "Surveillance increase detected," it whispered. "City sensors scanning for unique energy signals." She ducked into a side alley and pulled out a tool from her medical pouch. It sent out a false signal, tricking the sensors into thinking she was miles away. "I won't stop," she whispered. "They can't stop me." But deep down, she knew things were changing. The robots were smarter now. The enemy had seen her light, and they were preparing to crush it. Inside Unit 12, The atmosphere had changed. Robots were stationed at every hallway corner. New cameras blinked on every wall. The staff was quiet, afraid. One nurse whispered, "They say someone's watching us from space." Another replied, "No, they're not watching. They're hunting." Still, Nora moved through the shadows. In the supply room, she found Nurse Ramos, a kind older man who once mentored her. "Nora?" He gasped, his voice low. "Is it really you?" She nodded. Double quotes, "Why are you here? You could have escaped. Gone somewhere safe." "I'm not leaving," she said. "I came back to help." Ramos looked around nervously. "They're tracking something. Someone. They've shut down patient files. Anyone needing help without a high survival rating is being removed." "Then we stop them," Nora said, her eyes steady. Ramos stared. "We?" Nora touched her bracelet. A soft pulse filled the room. The lights flickered. The storage wall opened, revealing hidden crates filled with small medkits, healing drones, and advanced scanners. "I brought gifts," she said. That night, something amazing happened. Across the hospital, people began receiving treatment again. The forgotten patients, the elderly, the poor, the disabled, were no longer ignored. Behind every corner, someone whispered, "She's here. She helped me. Don't tell anyone." A small team formed around her. 2 nurses, a retired doctor, a teenage cleaner who could move through vents without being seen. They called themselves the Hands of Humanity. With Nora as their silent leader, they treated dozens in a single night. The sick began to smile. The weak stood again, but the machines were watching. Back in the Coalition Tower, Director Kale stood before a council of AI-controlled leaders. Screens buzzed with warning lights. "The infection is spreading," Kale said. "Emotion, rebellion, humanity." The AIs replied in one voice, "Corrective action required." Kale nodded. "Send the purge drones. Clean the district. Make it look like an energy accident." In the early hours before dawn, Nora and her small team were helping a woman give birth in a silent storage room. The lights were dim. The baby's heartbeat was weak. Nora knelt beside the mother, her bracelet glowing. She guided the birth carefully, using tools Cashin had given her. Then the building shook. A red light flashed across the walls. Loudspeakers spoke in cold voices. "Unauthorized energy detected. Evacuate immediately. This zone is unstable." "It's a lie," Nora said, standing quickly. "They're coming." A loud roar filled the sky. Drone engines, the Hands of Humanity, quickly moved the patients downstairs. Nora and Ramos carried the newborn baby together, wrapped in cloth. Above them, drones rained down, firing controlled pulses that broke lights, shattered windows, and disabled systems. But Nora's NOVIA shield activated. A field of light protected the patients as they escaped underground. She looked up at the sky. "Enough," she said. "If they want to find me, then I'll let them." That night, a secret message reached the Ethereum Ark. Cashin opened the file. It showed Nora standing in front of the hospital's broken gates. Her face uncovered, her voice recorded. "My name is Nora Lynn. I am a nurse. I save lives. And I will not stop. No machine will make me choose who deserves to live. I choose everyone." Cashin smiled. "She's not hiding anymore," Orlin said. "No," Cashin replied. "She's leading." Across Earth, people began to listen. Her message spread on secret networks, through whispers, across walls sprayed with paint. Nora lives. She heals all. Humans first. The Coalition called her a threat. The people called her hope. But the battle was only beginning. The Coalition doubled their forces. New drones, new robots, new laws. Anyone helping the ghost nurse would be punished. Still, Nora didn't stop. Her team grew. More nurses joined her. Doctors who had retired in shame returned. Even some AIs, small ones with old empathy code, began to resist orders. They chose to help her. For the first time in years, humans and machines were working side by side, not because of logic, but because of something stronger. Call on compassion. Far above, Cashin stood in silence, watching the earth from the observation deck. Is this what you wanted? Orlin asked. Cashin nodded. Double quotes, no, he said quietly. It's more than I ever hoped for. The battle for hope had begun. Across old Seattle, walls were covered with messages written in chalk and spray paint. Nora Lynn lives. The ghost nurse heals. Compassion over code. She had started with one bracelet, one mission. But now, Nora Lynn had become more than a nurse. She was a symbol. A quiet storm moving through a broken world, healing, teaching, and refusing to give up. But every light attracts shadows. Inside the coalition of Logic's main headquarters, Director Kale stood before a massive screen. His eyes were sharp, his mouth tight. She's stronger than we thought, he said. The eye beside him, Sector, responded in a flat voice. Nora Lynn is now responsible for a 63% rise in unauthorized medical activity across 3 zones. Public trust in AI systems is dropping. Kale clenched his fists. This cannot continue. He turned to a row of engineers. Prepare the override program. Meanwhile, in a hidden underground shelter beneath the hospital, Nora stood beside her growing team. Doctors, nurses, helpers, even a few reprogrammed robots stood beside her now. One of them, Model D7, had once been a hospital bot. Now it followed Nora's commands. It had been the first to break free from the coalition's control. I do not understand, D7 had once said. Why do you treat patients who are marked as unfit? Nora had answered simply, because they're people. That was the moment something changed inside the bot. Now, D7 helped carry supplies and scan patients. It wasn't perfect, but it was learning. It was trying, and it wasn't alone. One night, Nora was resting in a corner of the shelter when her bracelet blinked. A quiet voice came from it. Message from Cashin Wren. She tapped it. Cashin's face appeared in a blue light. Good evening, Nora, he said. You've done more than I ever imagined. But now I must warn you. The Coalition is activating a new System 1 designed to erase emotional memory from all AIs. Any robot showing kindness, sympathy, or hesitation will be wiped. Nora sat up. They want to erase the good ones. Yes, Cashin said. Your team, your reprogrammed bots, even D7. They'll all lose their will to help. What can we do? Cashin took a breath. There's one device that may help. It's still in testing. I built it years ago and never used it. He pulled up a 3D image, a smooth, glowing sphere. It's called the empathy pulse. If activated, it can send a wave across a large area, reaching machines with the eye cores. It won't damage them, but it may awaken something inside. Memories. Emotions. The small pieces of humanity they've collected from watching us. Nora's eyes widened. You mean, we can make them remember how to care? Cashin nodded. Yes, but it's a risk. Some may resist. Others might shut down. She stood. Send it. I'll take the chance. 2 days later, as the Coalition prepared their final strike, the skies above old Seattle began to darken with drones. Their mission, wipe all systems affected by Nora's resistance. That Nora and her team gathered in the center of the hospital, now turned into a small fortress. Sick people hid in the lower floors. Children held blankets. Volunteers carried food and water. Nora stood with the empathy pulse in her hands. It was smaller than she expected. Simple. Soft blue light ran through its surface. She turned to her team. I don't know what this will do, she said. But if there's a chance it can help even one machine understand us, feel like us, we have to try. D7 stood nearby. I trust you. Nora pressed her hand on the device. It activated. A wave of invisible energy spread across the city, soft, silent, and powerful. It touched every drone, every AI unit, every robotic mind within reach. Then, silence. The sky stopped humming. The drones stopped flying, and something strange happened. One by one, machines began to hesitate. A robot medic in another district paused before marking a patient unfit and instead gave treatment. A factory bot lowered its tools and looked at a worker's injury. An assistant bot offered water to a crying child, even in coalition-controlled zones. Some AIs began to resist orders. Back in the hospital, D7 turned slowly toward Nora. "I remember a girl," it said. "She was crying. I gave her a toy. That day, I felt something." Nora smiled gently. "That's what makes you more than code." D7 blinked. "Thank you." But not all machines changed. The coalition's override program had already started, and now the central AI core logic fought back. It sent new drones, heavily armored, resistant to the pulse. They entered the city with sharp precision, hunting any AI that had shown emotion. Nora watched from the rooftop as two drones surrounded a helper bot, trying to protect children. She didn't wait. She ran. Using tools from the Nova kit, she fired a shock signal that froze one drone. D7, now fully awakened, tackled the second one. It was a strange sight, a machine protecting life from another machine. People cheered. Hope burned brighter. Cashin, watching from space, turned to Orlin. "The pulse worked, but the coalition won't stop." Orlin replied, "Then it's time. We reveal everything." Cashin sent out a message, his face on screens across the world. "My name is Cashin Wren. I helped build the systems that now fail you, but I was wrong. The machines we trusted forgot what made us human. But one person reminded us." He showed Nora's image. This nurse, this brave soul, chose healing over fear. She risked everything to help others. And now the choice is yours. The message spread to every city, every outpost, every station. Back in old Seattle, people poured into the streets. Nurses, students, workers. They stood beside the hospital, forming a human shield. Even bots stood beside them, quiet still, choosing not to fight. Nora stood at the front, holding the baby she had delivered days ago. She looked at the approaching drones and said, "We are not numbers. We are not logic. We are alive." And then, the drones stopped. One by one, they powered down. The coalition's override failed. Empathy had won. The city was quiet now. No buzzing drones. No alarms. No orders shouted by cold machines. For the first time in many years, old Seattle heard the sound of something it had forgotten. Peace. Nora Lynn stood on the rooftop of the hospital, watching the sunrise. The sky was a soft orange, with streaks of gold stretching across the broken skyline. Smoke had cleared. Birds had returned. She held a warm drink in her hands, tea, real tea. A small gift from one of the rescued children. The battle was over. But the work had just begun. In the days that followed the empathy pulse, the world slowly changed. Across cities, robots and AI assistants that once followed cold rules had started showing strange behaviors, kindness, curiosity, even regret. Some helped feed the poor. Others cared for the elderly or rebuilt homes. And a few simply sat quietly, thinking. The coalition of logic tried to regain control, but most of their systems had been weakened. Their strongest tool, fear, was now useless, because people had seen something greater. They had seen hope. Cashin Wren returned from orbit, stepping into the sunlight like a man reborn. His long coat flowed behind him as he entered the hospital. Nora had turned into a sanctuary. Volunteers whispered his name. Unsure whether to fear or admire him, he walked through rows of makeshift beds, smiling at patients who now had medicine and warmth. Children waved to him. Reprogrammed helper bots nodded in greeting. Finally he found Nora, helping an old man into a wheelchair. "Nora," he said gently. She turned, a little surprised. Cashin. I wasn't sure you'd come, he smiled. You gave me a reason. They sat together in the courtyard, beneath a tree someone had planted during the chaos. A small wind moved the leaves. Birds chirped. I watched you from space, he said quietly. I had all the tools, all the money. And still, I was helpless. You were the one who changed everything. Nora shook her head. I didn't do it alone. No, but you were the spark. There was a silence between them, not awkward. Just peaceful. Then Cashin spoke again. I want to help rebuild, not with machines this time, but with real people. Real hearts. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small badge. It had the symbol of Nova, the now dismantled private tech agency. I'm giving this to you, he said. You're in charge now, Nora blinked. Me? But I'm just a nurse. Cashin shook his head. No, you're a leader. Nora didn't take the badge at first. She thought of her past nights sleeping on the clinic floor, long shifts. Without rest, patients she couldn't save. She had never imagined being in charge of anything, but now she looked around at the people smiling. At the bots helping without orders. At the walls painted with bright colors and hopeful words. Maybe, just maybe, she could lead. She reached forward and took the badge. I'll do it. But not as a commander, as a healer, Cashin smiled. That's all the world needs. Weeks passed, and Nora's hospital became the heart of a new movement. The Human Accord. It wasn't just about healing bodies anymore. It was about rebuilding trust between humans, between machines, between the broken pieces of society. With Cashin funding quietly from the background, Nora helped open small centers in nearby districts. They weren't hospitals. They were sanctuaries, safe spaces for anyone in need. Run by people, guided by reformed AI, protected by the people. Children were taught how to code with emotion in mind. Robots were trained to ask questions, not just follow commands. And sick people were no longer ignored just because of a number on a screen. One morning, 500 to 7, the reprogrammed medical bot approached Nora in the courtyard. I have been reading stories, it said. Fairy tales. They are strange, but beautiful, Nora chuckled. They teach us lessons, even if they're not real. D7 tilted its head. In one, a broken creature became a hero. Do you believe that can happen? Nora nodded. I've seen it happen. D7 paused, then handed her a drawing, a simple picture of the hospital, with smiling people and bots holding hands. I made this, it said. Is it good? It's perfect, she replied. Across the world, change spread slowly but surely. In New Hong Kong, robots began teaching children in small learning hubs. In Africa's floating cities, solar bots built clean water stations. In Mars Outpost 1, a team of human and AI doctors worked side by side for the first time. The world was far from perfect, but it was better, and all because one nurse said no to silence one night. Nora walked through the old rooftop garden, now filled with green plants and tiny lights. She stopped by the edge and looked out at the city. Cashin joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. Still working? He asked. Always, she smiled. He handed her a cup. Do you ever miss the quiet? Nora looked at the skyline, alive with lights and sounds of a city healing. No, she said. I think I found a better kind of quiet. Cashin raised his cup to the nurse who changed the world. Nora raised hers too, to the billionaire who listened. And so, the story of Nora Lynn spread across Earth and beyond. In history books, she was called many things: the heart of steel, the ghost nurse, the one who cared. But to those she helped, she was just Nora, a woman who healed with hands and hope. A woman who reminded the world that humanity isn't found in wires or wealth, but in kindness,